February 11th, 2008. This is Diehard Gamer Radio, episode 42.
You are approaching the target of attack. Your mission starts now. Are you ready? The countdown begins. 3, 2, 1, go!
You are listening to Diehard Gamer Radio, the source for off-mainstream video game news and topics. And now, your hosts, Murdock, Brian, John, and Steve.
Just a couple more shots.
Well, welcome back to Diehard Gamer Radio. As always,
we just left.
in our last episode. I have John, Steve, and Brian. I'm not going to point out everyone today because I can't seem to get that right for whatever reason.
I mean, it's really too much to ask you to remember who we are, so we'll cut that part out.
Pointing out an audio podcast,
Point out that
that's right up there with pointless.
The last few episodes we haven't used any lethal weapon jokes, and
damn it, Riggs!
I was just watching the Family Guy episode with where Stewie kills Lois, and at the very end they do the it's just been revoked, except Peter shoots Stewie and for no apparent reason says it's just been revoked.
Like he'd been saving it up. Yeah, he had to use it. It's just been revoked.
You could do that without setting up the joke.
Well, yeah, and then Brian says, Peter didn't really set you up for that lethal weapon gag there. So he tries again with, I'll have what she's having. Which I don't get.
That's from
Mrs. Doubtfire or something?
Movie, I don't really know.
Oh, no, that's from
Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, I was just going to say. Because she fakes an orgasm sitting in the seat there and says, I could fake it right here, right now.
I was thinking of action movies, so I couldn't think of an action movie.
Well, that's action of a different sort.
That's not really action at all. It's like simulated action.
That's action you get later on, after the date goes well.
Or not, as the case may be.
The opinions of Steve and Brian do not necessarily reflect the views of Diehard Gamer Radio. Okay,
but they do anyway.
Yeah. All right, so let's go on
We're manly men.
We're all supposed to say that it's our third anniversary?
We can if you want.
Well, it says on the schedule that it's our third anniversary, so I can only
It's officially our third anniversary. Thank you.
I can only imagine that it's our third anniversary.
So it's our third anniversary then?
Well, the schedule says so.
Okay.
It must be right.
Why wouldn't we trust the schedule?
True.
All right. So let's go to our first gaming news.
The schedule's a lie!
Yes, Aperture Labs gave me the schedule.
For research purposes only?
Sure. All right. So our first news bit, a whole billion fighting games have been announced for 2008.
I'd like to point out that on the schedule,
Year
it
of
just
the Fighter.
says fighting games announced for 2008. It's like a truism.
Well, we didn't want to generalize it,
So are any of them new, or are they just all games with extra words stuck on the end?
Well, let's see. We have, let me see the list here. We have Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, BlazBlue's new.
Well, it's new-ish. I mean, we'll see what Arc System works.
Fate Unlimited Codes is new.
Yeah.
Bossor X is definitely new. Been awaiting that one.
And let's see, there's KOF, 98 Ultimate Match, which is like the fan favorite for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep remaking them.
Because it's cheaper to remake them than it is to actually create
a new
original
one.
IP.
Apparently.
Also, Arcana Heart 2, Tekken 6, Soul Calibur 4, Street Fighter 4, which I announced. Yeah. Samurai Spirit Sen, and Atlas is bringing out Arcana Heart into the U.S., which was kind of a surprise since Atlas usually does not bring out fighting games, which was kind of,
Yeah, Atlas is really making a name for themselves lately. They're just popping out stuff left and right.
Yeah, I popped into the Atlas forums. It's like, hey, what import games do you want us to bring over? And, not realizing that half the people that are actually asking for these import games have already imported them.
Yeah. Hello, people. Hello.
So we have a bunch of convention dates here. We have the dates for PAX, which is August 29th through August 31st. the ALU show, which is going on at the end of this week, starting February 16th, and E for All Expo, October 3rd through October 5th. So they're actually
Avoiding death for a second year in a row.
So what does AOU even stand for?
It's the
Automated.
it's the Automated Operators Union show.
Yeah.
It's the arcade show in Japan.
Automated
Someplace
Online
where,
Ultima.
The Sega Master System, aka the Sega Mark III, and the Game Gear announced for the Japanese Wii console. Now you can play 8-bit Sega games with the really shitty artwork on the covers.
Well, usually not excited about the whole being able to buy old games that already have, but Sega probably needs the help.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't really
That's kind of what the Wii is all about, though. The Virtual Console is just kind of a rehash of all the older systems coming back.
It's not even a rehash. They're not remaking anything.
Yeah, true. It's just bringing another version of it on there for you to play again.
And an emulator you get to pay for. It's a
Yeah,
good time.
pretty much, yeah.
So not too many Master System games that I'm really interested in, although it does open up, the possibility of Zillion coming out.
Space Harrier.
Yes. Space
Yeah.
Harrier and possibly Phantasy Star 1.
I
Fantasy
already
Star
had a perfectly
1.
good emulator for that on my Dreamcast with
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, next up, Space Channel 5 has been confirmed for Wii. Old
hey,
game is old.
Sega Master System version of Double Dragon.
Was that any good?
It was a pretty good arcade adaptation.
Were the Abobo still cheap as hell?
Sure.
Those were those Mongolian enemies, the real big giants.
Yes.
Okay.
You back kick them or jump kick them.
You pressed A and B together.
Well, you couldn't back kick in that move in the first one, could you? I don't think you could.
I don't remember. All three of those games are kind of a blur. They don't.
Well,
there
the
didn't
second
seem
one
to be
had an entirely different button scheme than the first one.
Yeah. So
You could back kick your way through the entire game on one quarter.
So Space Channel 5 for the Wii. I know there's a joke in here somewhere.
Is it actually a new version of Space Channel
I think
5?
it is just a remake.
Wow. Is she going to have panties?
I don't know if there's going to be some sort of wiggle motion or
Will
some
she have
sort
a
of...
crotch? Is the
Yeah,
question.
the whole missing crotch thing is really the question that's important.
Someone androgynous.
I'm assuming panties.
Well, not
because
beyond
I've heard-
androgynous.
Yeah.
She just didn't have a pelvis.
So can the Wii
Just
handle
missing
that
a
many
vital part of her
polygons?
skeletal system.
What is this obsession that you have with her crotch?
She's missing it.
Missing.
Okay.
The Dreamcast version.
Lack
she was
of
missing
anatomy.
it. She was missing her entire pelvic region.
Just gone. It was creepy.
Yeah, it was kind of disturbing. Especially because they would, there was parts where it was obvious that they wanted to show you their lack of pelvisness.
Yeah, you would think that removing their panty shots from the game would not just remove her crotch to
Yeah.
solve the problem.
That was like that was the 5-second fix for that. Here's a patch. Oh, it'll work. Okay.
A patch for your batch?
Yep, kind of.
Okay. So next up, and this interests Brian, the Gran Turismo 5 prologue comes out on April 17th, 2008 for $40.
Selling their beta? What?
Yeah, $40 for a prologue. Come on, man.
And that
That's
doesn't
BS.
that doesn't include the $5,000 it's going to cost you for the PS3, or however much it is now.
I'm sorry. It's
whatever.
still not enough to make me buy the PS3.
Whatever version is actually available.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever
we've had HDD
hard drive they
tanking
decided on.
pretty hard. And even that's not enough to make the PS3 interesting. It just means, well, now I get to wait until the PS3 gets affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of annoyed by
You know, in the
Blu-ray
grand scheme of
winning,
things,
too.
Blu-ray is still way too expensive. Nobody's going to buy into it for another year.
Well, I'm annoyed that Sony is doing something that's being successful.
Yeah, I know. There is that too.
But also, I was telling a guy at work, he's like, "Oh, it looks like Blu-ray is winning." I'm like, "Well, winning relatively. Still not a huge adoption rate for Blu-ray or HDDV."
Ah.
Well, this whole Blu-ray profile thing, it's like we didn't finish it, so Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just keep adding stuff on as we go and obsoleting those first-generation early adopters.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is this the first time you've dealt with Sony?
If we didn't do it, it wouldn't be Sony.
Ah. So next up, King of Kong released on DVD. We hear it's a good movie. I know that. Did you see it, Brian?
Yeah.
And
John and I saw it, I think.
And what did you think of it?
It's a good movie. It
was pretty funny
and bends the truth a bit in some interesting places. But
it was a good movie, yeah.
As long as you take it as fiction, it's great.
What was this?
King of Kong. It was based on the guy that set the high score standard for
Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong, rather, yeah.
Oh.
And then another guy that had this dream of also doing it, and he ended up beating him at one point, and he couldn't get acclaim for it. He couldn't really get recognized for it.
Well, that's incredibly nerdy.
It really
Yeah,
is.
it was. It was
It's
kind
a
of sad,
classic
but
underdog story.
yeah, and it really is portrayed
Is the
that way
Power
too.
Glove in this somehow?
Unfortunately not.
Oh.
Although there are
Fred
a couple
Savage
of,
is not involved in some way.
There's a couple of retards, though.
Yeah, a couple.
Wait. Video gamers and there's retards in this group?
Yeah.
Do they happen to work for Twin Galaxies?
Most of them.
Well, now, who's like that really awful dude who like had the pick up women video cassette tape and like dressed up in a military uniform? That dude was a
That was the guy that supposedly funded it. He was the guy that was like trying to help him get, or not funded it, but he was trying to get him.
Waging his 20-year crusade to get his missile command score recognized.
Yeah, and nobody would believe him.
Probably because he was lying.
He was doing everything to get the little guy on his side and try and back him. And once that guy used his name, it was kind of nobody wanted to believe him.
So is this like the Seinfeld episode where George like tries to rescue his Frogger machine? Is it like that?
No.
Not quite.
Okay. All right.
There's some entertainment involved in the movie.
Okay, so it's not like a Seinfeld episode. Okay, got it.
Good.
All right, so next up we have Sony discontinuing the 80 gig PS3, introducing 120 and 160 gigabyte model with DualShock 3.
Speaking of Sony obsoleting old hardware.
Good God.
My note on this is, does anyone know what PS3s are out now? I can't see how people can keep track of this
There's
shit.
got to be at least
All of them are out there. What are you talking
got
about?
to be at least 3 dozen different PS3 versions available.
20, 40, 60, 80, and then you double all those
Seriously,
because
you
they
walk
took out
into any
the backwards
given-
compatibility from each one. And
Yeah, it's like now we need that scorecard on the back of the 360 games to tell you what features it supports, but
Yeah.
we need that on the PS3 to tell you what features that PS3
Yeah.
supports.
or doesn't have anymore, actually.
They need a kiosk.
This is what you can't do.
They do.
Yeah.
They need RFID tags.
list.
They need RFID tags so you can go up with some sort of PDA and just walk up to a pile of PS3s and it'll tell you which ones it's got. So there's really no way to figure out what
That would
the
be
hell is-
simpler.
Yeah, I know.
So thanks, Sony, for making video game harder than it should be.
Which one of these can I install Devil May Cry on?
Well,
How long do you want to wait? I thought it was amazing that install was unskippable.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, it's
you
like a-
have to do the 20-minute install.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you playing a console game for?
Made me think of
20-minute install.
It made me think of
Go
a
make some
shorter,
popcorn. Get some to drink.
a shorter version by about 3.5 hours of Lineage 2.
actually, Brian, that was if you read Penny Arcade, and
Yeah.
there was actually, if you go to the Capcom forums, they actually have an FAQ on the Devil May Cry 4 thing, and it's like, well, why is there such a long install time? Blah blah blah. It's like, oh, we're trying to make a good gameplay experience by you not having to wait, for load times and stuff. It's like it has near quality, and I'm not making this quote up. Super Nintendo load times. I am not making up that quote.
So how is it that the 360 manages to have almost the same load times
That's right.
without the
It's-
20-minute install?
Yeah.
It's little known that the
Well, it reads a disc backwards, for one thing.
a single Super Nintendo is the SI unit for load times. So, oh, this has 3.5 Super Nintendos, I see. That's a pretty good architecture there.
Was there a Super Nintendo title with load time? I mean, I don't know
Yes.
how you'd even pull
Yes,
that
there
off
is.
with a cartridge, but
There is a Super Nintendo game with load time. It is the first generation game Sim City. It was a Nintendo port of the Maxis game, and there is a significant load time when it's trying to generate a world for you.
Because it actually does it procedurally there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it only does it once.
And it's a world.
No, well, anytime you want to play a level and create one
Well,
from
you have
scratch.
to make one from scratch, but it's only really once per city.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you,
So
at the end of every
once
year.
per
it has to
30
load.
hours of game time.
At least.
So,
You know, unless you're playing D&D and you just leave it running in a stable thing with you're making $2 or so and leave it on auto so that you come back to it in the morning and you've made $30 billion.
I do that all the time. Usually like a quarter of my city would be burned down, but it wouldn't
Yeah,
matter
it
because
wouldn't
you
matter.
just build it right back
Yeah,
up.
you can make one.
so thanks, Capcom. They actually recommended on the forum to just get a sandwich and come back. And the install should be done by then.
Go outside, make a sandwich, have a pop.
The best response I heard to that was, well, PS3 users should be used to it from back when they had to wait for downloads to complete before they could do anything else.
Thanks, Sony.
Yeah.
So
Bastards.
next up, Spore delayed until 2008.
Spore delayed. This isn't news.
Yeah.
Yes, but Duke Nukem Forever is coming out.
What's wrong with this picture?
It's die-catastic.
Oh, man.
Die-catastic. I like that.
I don't know what to believe in it after seeing that video, because that video was not, like, awe-inspiring.
Yeah,
It wasn't even.
it's,
It
you
wasn't
know,
even a video. I mean, it was just CG. I mean, there was no game
Yeah.
footage in it whatsoever.
there's
And
a
it
reason-
definitely looked like they pulled it somewhere out of the early 90s, too, and then it was in storage, and somebody's like, ooh, look at this Easter egg.
They could have just shown you Populous, really.
I would have gotten more excited.
At least Populous came out.
Yeah.
Populous has even had a real 3D version.
It has. Which
On the
wasn't
Amiga.
nearly as fun as... No, they did... there was a PC version of
Populous 3.
Populous, yeah. And
True
it was-
3D on a globe. I really
Yeah.
like that one.
I like the original one better.
So Duke Nukem Forever.
I just like
nostalgia
games
reasons.
with globes.
So do I.
So like Dead or Alive.
We don't talk
Dead or
about
Alive
those
4.
particular games on this podcast.
Dead or Alive 4 has globes
It
in
does. I've downloaded many from Emporium.us.
Emporium?
Emporium.us.
So
It was one of those BitTorrent sites where you ran across it really early on, and then it became invite only, and you're kind of glad because
Yeah.
you got grandfathered
Weed
in.
out the people, yeah.
So
Emporium, that's great.
yeah, Duke Nukem. They're saying Duke Nukem Forever is supposed to come out in 2008, like fall 2008. So according to the 3D Realm slide rule that I have in front of me,
Yeah.
that is according. Let's see. Let me get the Aztec calendar here. That's like 2012.
When John Romero comes back from the moon.
What is that, like 2 praise? Not sure.
Is that the scientific unit for delayed games?
It is.
Well,
It's
2.5 praise.
So one prey is 6 years. So I happen to know this because there was actually I was reading through Penny Arcade, one of the Penny Arcade books, and I came across a comic where they're actually making something, but on the cereal box it has prey and it says, "Have you seen this game?" And it's from exactly 6 years after he's writing about it, and the game had just come out. It's like, well, so it's one prey is 6 years
Okay, so that is the new scientific unit.
for a game delay.
Yeah, so GameSpot, please using it, and we'll pay you enough money to rate it at a higher rating.
Yes.
So, next up, and this interests Brian and me, a sequel to Dodonpachi has been announced. Dodonpachi Daifukatsu. And the translation for that is
Don't fuck with us.
it's great. It's great rebirth.
More bullets, more shooting.
Don't know yet.
More
we won't know
bullets,
until
more
after
death.
the AOU show.
More bullets, more hell, just for you.
Maybe the genre needs to evolve and go to like some new paradigms. One giant bullet.
One giant bullet. Yeah.
Yeah.
As few bullets as possible.
They already have that. Can't think of any shooter off the top of my head that has that, but I'll think of one.
It's like a whole shooter with no bullets.
I will think of one.
I think that's what your guys.
I think that's like
shooters
every extend extra, isn't it?
That's not really a shooter though,
Yeah.
because you're not really shooting anything.
It's just a shooter with bombs.
It's the anti-shooter.
Oh,
Just
true.
bombs.
So I think the shooter with no bullets is called that Endless Ocean game from the Wii. And it's a shooter
Not a
with no bullets.
shooter.
Well, it is. It could be.
It started out as one.
It's a shooter with no bullets.
It started out as a bullet hell shooter.
Yeah, and then they ran out of space for the bullet code. Well,
either
how about
get
we just have
sharks
a pet
or
fish
bullets.
instead?
Has anyone heard about that game? Because I was like kind of
apparently
half
it's
interested
somewhat
in picking it up.
interesting. I mean, there are things that you
around
can
and pet fish.
There
What more do you
are
want to know?
apparently achievable tasks in it to like unlock areas and stuff like that. Apparently, there's not a lot of competition to the game, but there is some things that can be achieved if you're wanting to be a scuba dude.
Well, it's not even like unlocking areas. Understand?
Yeah, it's
you
actually
get control of the
unlocking
boat,
areas.
and you just go
Well,
there.
it's
And then
unlocking
once you're
areas.
there, it'll like give you a name after you've like petted enough fish or something.
Well, apparently there's areas that you can't go to unless you do certain stuff. Yeah.
Like pet fish.
I don't know. Apparently, also
Is there going to be a strategy guide for this game?
And I quote from one of the comments on the Ars Technica Opposable Thumbs article on this game was, and by the way, don't pet the deep sea sharks; they don't like it.
That's not a game. That's not a game pro game
Pro
tip.
tip,
That's
yeah.
like a real life tip.
Yes.
So
Well, if you can shoot them, you can kill them. Is a real life tip too.
If they bleed, we can kill them.
all right. Well, thanks Nintendo for. And I was like half interested in the game just for kitsch value, like how John picks up like some of these weird ass games. I was gonna pick up that weird ass game just
Pick
to
up that
for the
weird
hell
ass
of it.
game. I would say pick it up used. It could be interesting. Apparently, it's really pretty.
Yeah, I'm just not sure if it earns the game moniker.
Well, there's things to achieve. They're not difficult, but there's things to achieve.
Plus, it might use Waggle.
Ooh.
I mean, if Simon's Quest can be a game, this can be a game.
Come on.
I mean, Simon's Quest barely had challenge in it.
well, it did. Oh no, it didn't.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
what I mean. I mean, I was 8 and I got through it in 3 hours. Yeah.
All right. So moving on.
Without a strategy guide.
There was. All
They
right.
probably didn't even ask if you wanted to.
He didn't have to look into Nintendo
It's
Power.
I spent more time writing down the save codes than I did playing the game.
Well, it took like 2 hours to write it down. Well,
It was like a 36 characters. It was ridiculously long.
Because some 9-year-old out there was going to crack it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow, what I found out was a hexadecimal system whereby...
Well, actually, what's actually interesting is that there's now people that are actually hacking these codes to find out, if there's any.
Why?
I don't know, but apparently there's a group of people that have found like all these hidden codes within Metroid that have been previously, unfound until
So
now.
basically, they've decided to create a distributed computing project whereby they brute force codes from
Well,
Metroid.
I'm sure they're just reverse engineering the thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's JavaScript applets now that's like, okay, well, how many missiles do you want? And it'll give you the code for it.
Oh, that's useful. Good work, people.
Yeah, or you could play the game and not suck at it. There's an idea.
Ooh, what a
There's
concept.
protein folding to help
no
cure
fun in that.
cancer or Metroid.
Yeah.
Whichever.
Okay.
Next.
So we have some weird game news.
Other than the fact that there's one called The Curious Village.
The Curious Village.
Yeah, it was a DS game that came out, and I wrote a comic about it because I imagined that there was no bi-curious women in it. It was like the whole village was curious.
That's a far way to go to a joke for a joke, Steve.
Yeah, he was stretching it.
It had a bunch of kids running after this guy who's a doctor, and was like,
This
a
wasn't the
curious
Professor
village.
Layton one, was it?
Yes,
Yeah.
a curious village.
And what makes it curious, Steve?
Well, apparently not.
Because
But
they
they're
haven't
by the game
actually
to find
followed
out.
through yet.
Okay. So
There's
this
puzzles and shit.
So the weird game we're talking about is the Simple DS Series Volume 34, The Dentist. Announced you actually pull teeth with the stylus. I did see a video on this.
So is this at all like Trauma Center?
Is it
No, it's not like Trauma Center.
It's more like hostile.
It's more like traumatized.
It's not hostile,
so
a
a
video
little eyeball
game.
removal
Yeah.
mixed in.
Yeah, it's more like
No.
guinea pig.
Guinea pig.
Guinea pig, yes.
Yeah. And also some other weird gaming news. Major Minor's Majestic March, a marching band game, finally.
Thank God. You know how long I've waited for that?
Yeah.
So that's
Well, it's
where you
too
get
long,
to
let me tell
march
you.
in place on the Wii Fit board and spin
Sure.
your remote around. That sounds like a good time.
With the flag twirling simulation.
With enough liquor, I bet it could be.
Yeah, but you get that much liquor, you won't be able to stand anymore.
Yeah, true. So,
That's where the minor comes in.
and also some other news, and John reminded me of this. Was it Echo Crumb actually coming out on a physical media?
Finally.
Coming out on both the PS3 and for
PSP.
the PSP on actual disc form.
Which means we can afford it on one.
Well, seeing as how we all have PSPs. So, and
Which has been their more successful platform for us, apparently.
and Flow is also coming
More
out on the
because you only
PSP.
paid $150 for it and got a couple games. And,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm kind of glad about that, too, because I really thought that was a neat game. I just don't want to buy it on the PS3. I
Well,
don't.
although with this Flow one, what they have, what I've heard about for the release is that it's coming out on the PSN network in Europe, and you can download it off your PS3 to play on the PSP, but it's not actually like a disc that
It's
you
a
can get.
catch. I
Yeah.
see.
So you gotta really want the game.
I'll just wait for the disc to come out here.
You
Yeah.
have to have really drunk the Sony Kool-Aid.
Wait for somebody to actually just extract it off your PSP and burn it into an ISO, and you can upload it on a memory stick or something maybe.
We do not condone the actions of what Steve is recommending.
But we do it anyway.
Well, you do it. I've never heard of such things.
I don't do it.
What? What is this?
Actually, I don't do it because I'm too fucking
True
lazy.
believers?
It's so not worth the effort when you can just buy the games.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
it's
getting
like,
lazy
hey,
in our
check
old
it-
age.
Well, no, it's more like, check it out. I've got income. I don't need to. I can actually go and buy the games I want to play.
Besides, my memory stick is full of movies.
Yeah.
Full of boobies?
Well, in some fashion.
Some of those movies have them, yes.
So, next up,
I can't
Nam...
believe you put Showgirls on your movie stick.
Oh, my God. Showgirls for the DS. It's... Oh, no, never mind.
It makes you never want to play the DS again.
Namco, speaking about weird games, Namco releasing a game to make you cry. It is not a sequel to Weapon Lord.
That would really make me cry.
But it's called 99 no Nabida, or 99 Tears. The game takes place in a city where people have forgotten how to cry.
Wait.
Wait, hold on. One day on your way home from work, you encounter a store named the Source of Tears, Nabida no Moto Arimasu. You then read a short story a day and answer questions with the goal of alleviating daily stress through crying. So this game is
Okay,
actually
it's a
meant to
multiple
make you
choice
cry.
No. It's an essay question. It's like the
I think it's
SAT
like a-
where like you read an essay and then you have 4 choices.
Well, from my
Instead
understanding
of
is
the SAT, you get into Tokyo University and you save the world.
No. This isn't like the kanji trainer game. What the understanding is that they start you off with the simple, here's a story, boo hoo hoo. You answer questions and they figure out if you're, actually, like a bleeding heart or kind of, an emotional black hole, and then depending on.
So really, this is actually a dating game in disguise.
So you go through
Sounds
these
kind of
questions, and at
materialistic,
the
I
end
don't
they
know.
figure
It's
out
a
that you're
dating
like-
game in disguise.
Yeah. You materialistic bastard. Yeah.
Well, there's it figures like, okay, well, if you didn't have a lot of emotional response to this story, then they're going to pick another story that's supposed to be stronger.
So what this actually is determine if you're a replicant or not.
Yeah.
the DS version of the Voight contest.
You see sheep?
I figured just get so as the end and goes, oh, you're a 4chaner, and then they start showing you girl.
There's your comic, Steve.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. No, it is not the Voight contest.
You see a turtle. Do you stab it with your stylus?
No, it's you see a tortoise. He's like, what's a tortoise?
What's a
tortoise?
tortoise?
It's like, oh, have you ever heard of a turtle? Yeah, same thing.
Same thing.
Don't quiz me on Blade Runner.
Okay, I'll quiz you on Blade Runner. How come the cut when he shoots that guy is so horrible?
Well, let's see. Well, what of the 5 different versions were you watching?
The director's cut from '93.
Oh, well, there's your problem.
And that is one of the worst encoded DVDs I own.
Oh, yeah, do you love the credits at the end of that one?
I just always remember anytime there's black on the screen, you watch the crawling block artifacts everywhere.
Oh, see, I didn't have that problem. What I did have a problem with was on the end credits, you could actually see the film that they put the credits on drifting back and forth as it scrolled from bottom to top. It's like, wow. Also, the widescreen doesn't actually go to the edges of the screen, so it's actually a rectangle in there.
What version are you watching?
Director's cut from '93.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the new version,
No. This is the old director's cut.
Not the one in the kick-ass case and all that shit.
No. This is the one where people were like, "Oh yeah, Blade Runner. I remember that movie."
Yeah, except they, give you the version that no one's ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even one that wasn't even in the theater. It was just
Yeah.
something that the studio's like, put this out.
Yeah.
All right,
I hadn't seen this version before, and kind of the sad I had.
Okay, so moving on.
What the hell was that?
I think
It's like
there's
a
an
goose
elephant
came in
running
here.
It's Affleck. We don't want your insurance.
Nah. All right, what's 13?
13. 13. Okay.
Say it! Say it! Say it again!
Chowder! Namco and Sega close arcades in Japan. Blames oil and Wii.
Well, I did grease it up last night. I didn't think it had world implications.
I have to write the headlines funny, so
He writes the songs that make the whole world weep.
so here's the note I have on this. So I'm just going to read it. According to a Reuters report, home consoles such as the Nintendo Wii are playing a large role in the increasing struggles by.
Is that the arcade Game Pro game tip?
Play
your games at home.
Yeah, being forced by arcade. Well, they're saying that high oil prices have been taking their toll on the arcade industry as Japanese families are making fewer trips to large shopping malls. Too many of the Japanese.
Well, that's where many of the companies arcades are making their.
But they're saying that the Wii is like eating up their,
I don't believe
Well,
I don't believe
that's every console out there for that matter.
I don't believe their premise, because what they're saying is that Japanese are consuming less, and of consumer electronics at that, and I just don't buy that.
Yeah,
It's like genetic.
Well, no, it's
I mean,
buying the electronics.
Neuromancer didn't happen in Japan for no reason,
Most Japanese don't even own cars.
Yeah. They bike everywhere. They subway everywhere.
wrong.
Do not,
So you're saying all these families just went out and bought a car and realized they couldn't afford the gas?
Don't try and confuse me with the facts.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
So,
it was only a matter of time. It was amazing that they lasted so long as they did.
well,
It's really hard to complete with the staying home and masturbating and crying market. So, just amazing.
there's a DS game for that too.
Yes,
Did
I think
I
it's
tell
called
myself I
every
cried
dating
last
game
night?
ever. What do you call those games? What's the Japanese word for those games? For
Dating games. Well,
Dating game.
actually, the actual name is SLG. They're simulation life games.
Yeah.
Apparently, John is very amused
The
by
Japanese make the most realistic sex dolls. I just gotta say that. They put real dolls to shame. If you could import them.
You talking about that robotic one that was at the last?
No. Well, she's kind of hot, but she's got weird hands.
Yeah.
She's got fucked up hands. No, there's like the
I'd
actual.
be afraid of something
the
going
Japanese,
wrong and just.
The Japanese have like 7 or 8 different companies that make these sex dolls, and they're incredible.
I think
just
I saw a Ghost in the
amazing.
Shell episode like this.
Well, yeah. I think you saw one movie like this, and there was a story in the manga like this, and there was a standalone complex episode like this. All the same, actually. They kind of like to recycle Ghost in the Shell stories.
So, Steve, how much would you give for your own Motoko?
Well, one that won't kill me.
$1 million.
One that won't kill me.
Yeah.
Can I finance it?
How's your credit?
Payments?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Not with today's marking.
Can I get one for like $50 a month? Can I lease it?
If you want to pay for it for the next 500
No,
years,
sure. Can I lease it? Instead of like,
as long as you clean up after it, I guess you're okay.
You could probably swap out the important bits.
Yes, they're user replaceable parts. User replaceable components.
We would never see you again.
That's much like the coming of the holodeck. Civilization is just doomed.
Yeah. They never talk about the cleanup mechanisms for the holodeck.
It's called Data with a Sponge. That's what it is.
It's Wesley. It's his after-school job. He's got a long stick and a sponge in a bucket. Yeah, that's what you came to this podcast for.
Holodeck humor. Why doesn't he just go in the holodeck and holodeck himself up, a broom or a mop and a bucket?
Or a bunch of scantily clad cleaning maids. Oh, wait, that just perpetuates the problem.
That doesn't solve anything.
Yeah. So,
last bit.
yes, the hot coffee settlement forthcoming.
Yeah.
This is a nice segue into this. So
you thought we didn't know what we were doing with that whole thing, did you, folks? But no, we had a plan the whole time.
It's a lie. That's a lie.
Shh, you're ruining our reputation.
We don't have a reputation. Well, we will after this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
The negatives, but hey.
All right. So
he's trying to go away.
So here's the deal with the whole hot.
I figure the only way the podcast is going to get anywhere is if we actually manage to offend the PTC into listening.
Yeah.
Jack Thompson, we want you!
Well, who's running the PMRC now?
Not sure.
It's not Tipper Gore anymore.
Have to look it up.
PMRC, isn't that the Chinese?
Oh, no.
No.
That's
Oh, PROC, never mind.
It's the PRC.
Yeah, People's Republic.
Kind of
Okay.
different, although not as much as you might think.
Yeah, well.
Right. So here's the deal.
They're both commies.
Yeah.
So here's the deal with the whole hot coffee settlement thing. I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but basically,
oh my God, they're paying people money for having played a game that they had to work to unlock the content.
You know, half these people didn't even get to it. Hell, not even.
The thing is, whoever was offended can get money, and it's not a lot of money. But even if you didn't own the game, you can still get restitution for it. Well, it's not a lot.
On the plus side, the lawyers who did the class action suit.
Well, they have to prove that they bought it. Apparently,
no,
they
you
need
don't
to have
even
a credit card
that.
statement or a canceled
to
check
get the full amount. But you can just say I was offended and I don't have the game anymore, and you get $5.
Oh,
wow!
If you still have the game, you can get 10.
I need to go.
I was offended about 500,000 times. I was offended over and over and over and over again.
Every time you replayed the
member of your
YouTube,
family was also offended.
I was offended over and over again, and let me tell you, it chafed.
I thought about signing up for this, but then I went, oh man, this is such fucking bullshit. I can't even bring myself to make the complaint to get free.
It's not worth the $5.
All right, anyway.
So this is the stupidest thing ever.
Yes. All right, so we have a topic.
Yes. It is Fucking Konami Week, Capcom Edition.
Fucking A.
So every February 14th is Fucking Konami Week.
Why?
And because it is.
Oh.
Why are you questioning me?
I don't know.
Didn't you see it on your calendar? Dude, everybody knows.
Yeah,
it wasn't one of our floating holidays.
But you do have to buy that Japanese calendar, and it does say it in Japanese.
So according to the Insert Credit Forum, it is Fucking Konami Week, and they decided, well, you know what? Konami hasn't really come out with anything, and Metal Gear Solid 4 is not coming out until, the next Ice Age. So we're going to do...
How many praise from now is that?
What now?
How many praise is that?
I think it's just one right now. This Fucking Konami Week is all about Capcom, apparently, according to Insert Credit. So this is where we talk about Capcom, blah, blah, blah.
So it's called Fucking Konami Week, where you talk about a different publisher.
Yes.
All right.
So I'm assuming that we have all played a Capcom game at some point.
No, never.
Would imagine at some point.
Well, you have played Mega Man, right?
Yeah.
And you did play Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And you played Trojan.
Trojan Man.
Those things are a bitch to get on, seriously. Hard game, that one.
And Gunsmoke.
So how long has your name been Brian?
And
I like Durex myself, but
that's not a Capcom game.
That's not a Capcom
sorry.
game either.
So any games you like? Because I know what you're going to say, Brian. Street Fighter.
SNK versus Capcom, and yeah, I'm all about the Street Fighter.
So any
Don't they
other...
just give people $1 million?
Konami. Oh, God, man. Shmups.
That's the only way
Shmups.
to make the game show.
Okay, well, Capcom.
Or Capcom, sorry.
Give them dollars.
Well, it's not like they're skilled.
Capcom's never really done... well, they did that X...
Okay, well, there's 1942.
Yeah,
There's
well, yeah,
1942
But I'm
series.
thinking of what was the X one? It was just X... wasn't that Capcom?
No, that was published by Capcom. It was done by a different
Published by
studio.
them, okay, yeah.
Varth. God, trying to think of a... Oh, the greatest shooter ever, according to Steve. UN Squadron is a Capcom game.
Area 88.
Wow, old school.
I don't know if it's the best shooter ever, but it's a pretty good shooter.
You did enjoy it, though.
I did. Even, it predated any sort of tinge of weeaboo that I had. It's like, I liked this game before I even knew it was Japanese.
And any Capcom game that you want to give a shout-out to, John?
Publishers just make so little impact. I mean, they're only important in that they give money to developers who actually make games.
Just play along.
Shut up.
You're ruining my party.
I can cry if I want to.
You're embarrassing me in front of my friends.
Oy caramba.
That is what we had already 4 is I think the last one I remember.
Did you like Dead Rising?
It was okay, but
Not
the
exploding.
janitor calling totally fucking ruined the game for me. Their save system was also a bitch.
And have you played Lost Planet?
Yes, I did actually quite enjoy Lost Planet.
Lost Planet was the Hoth game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
I didn't really like that game.
I gotta play that still. I've got it sitting on my... Got a hell of a deal on myself and tried it.
It had
do a
some
whole
great
lot for
mech
me.
parts, and the last level was very Zone of the Enders, which I quite liked.
We gotta do some multiplayer of that.
I think it'd be a good one for it. A lot of
Definitely.
weapon variety there.
And then...
Can't be as good as Rocket Race.
Rocket Race.
Rocket Race. It's a Halo 3 multiplayer thing where you
Rocket
get on the
Race
little,
is awesome.
what do you call
The
those
little
things?
ATVs.
Yeah, you're
One
the
guy
guys,
one guy drives the ATV, and the other one uses the rockets.
the rocket launcher.
And you got to get to these checkpoints that light up randomly.
Yeah. And so you got like people running
Hilarious
around
game mode.
two-person teams, and you never really die. There's one person's a VIP, and so if he dies, then you both have to start over. But the you don't really, you can shoot at people a lot with the rockets, and it knocks them off. It'll just knock their vehicle flying, and they'll roll and whatever.
Nothing better than
Halo
rockets
quite
on a
high,
four-wheeler, though.
Yeah.
So-
So it's an attempt to translate Mario Kart into Halo 3.
Kind of.
It works well.
Except it doesn't have
There's no track.
and no Mad Blue
Yeah.
Sparks.
There's no Mad Blue Sparks, but
Plus
there
the
are
four-wheeler
exploding rocket warheads.
I just want to say for the whole Capcom thing that I want to give a shout out to Techromancer.
Techromancer, yeah. That was a lot of
the
fun.
first Star Gladiator, not the second one, and Killer 7.
I'm sure all those games really appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah, good on them for giving some money to Killer 7, because that was not a smart business plan.
It was an interesting game, but
It was not a good business plan.
Well, they did a lot of that. You look at things like Okami and whatnot, their whole... they funded a lot of oddball things they really wanted to do well. It just,
yeah,
unfortunately,
they
never
made
caught
Final
on.
Fight, and they made the greatest beat 'em up ever in the history of mankind. God Hand.
Oh, jeez.
That's an interesting definition of
At
greatest
least-
beat 'em up ever.
At least you didn't say River City Ransom.
Okay, well that was
That's a singular beat 'em up, but when I think of beat 'em up, I think of multiplayer.
beat 'em up.
I think of games that are fun.
just kind of.
Yeah, that game
beat
was
'em up
kind of
could be one
torture in
player.
a weird
I
level.
mean, the Double Dragon for the NES was a beat 'em up, and it was single player.
I still maintain that the Sailor Moon one was the best.
Yeah, that Final Fight thing.
Actually, was
The
it
Sailor Moon
Knights
skin
of the
on Final
Round?
Fight.
Knights of the Round is an awesome beat 'em up.
Yeah, well, this isn't about beat 'em ups, so.
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons. They did do the Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
Those
are cool.
those are great games. I love those.
As long as you had enough money to actually play the game. It's like, I died in about 5 seconds. I better find another quarter.
Yeah.
Well, just as long as you don't start blowing anybody.
I think those came
back
out
in
when
the
it was like
arcade.
50 cents a pop, though.
Was it? Yeah, mate. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was even more
Well,
expensive.
they were always 50 cents a pop, and then later on they went down to a quarter.
Okay.
And today you find them in the nickel arcade.
Yes. Where you can't
Broken.
use actual nickels.
No slugs. All right, so moving on, are used games killing the game industry?
Oh, yeah, obviously. I mean, it's
Yeah.
in such dire straits
dire
from all
straits
those
right
used
now.
game sales.
Well, that's
Totally
why
fucking
CNBC
worthless,
has like.
This place where I went to my
features-
local used game store and found almost no used games.
That's why CNBC has features on video game companies.
Yeah.
That's obviously it's killing the game industry.
Yeah, because apparently all the there's a couple of publishers that are like, we're not receiving any of this money off the used games. So,
welcome to the publishing industry.
Yeah.
It's like, congratulations, that's
Damn
why you charge
publishers.
$60 for your games, because people can resell them and get some of their dollars back.
Yeah, motherfuckers, it wasn't enough. And then another $10 for a limited edition.
They must have had a dinner and were talking to the RAA.
How can we get more money?
Well, I don't remember. I don't know if you remember, but about 7 years ago, the RAA was complaining that they wanted to make used CD stores illegal.
Yeah.
They kind of got screwed by that doctrine or first sale thing there, but why let the law get in the way?
Still applies.
Yeah.
But that's also why they're moving towards downloadable titles. And amazingly, they sell the downloadable titles for much, much cheaper. Kind of amazing how that works out.
Cha-ching? No.
So I don't think they're killing the game industry, but they're really, really helping GameStop a lot. As GameStop made $40 whole billion.
Yeah, they made a lot of money. The vast majority of it from reselling used games. Which is
And what's the other bit that Circuit City is going to start selling
Yay
used
for them.
games now?
Circuit City can't even sell their normal games.
Yeah. People still buy stuff from Circuit City?
You know, I only go in there when I see games on sale, and it's when it's been in there like circular and it's down to 15 or 20
Well, it'd probably
bucks.
help if there was a Circuit City, someplace that you went. You got to go
I
out
got
of your
one in my
way.
neighborhood.
Well, I
You
know
know,
I
too,
will, but I
and-
have to go up the other side of 225 and go up a frontage
Oh,
road.
yeah,
and
yeah.
They're never
You know,
in a really, a place where you're like, well, I'm going to go down to, Target and Circuit City. No, it's never that.
I will admit, I do buy
At the end of a dock.
Yeah, it is.
The only new games I do buy there generally are PC
That's better
games,
than
and
being
it's
on the
only
end of a
because
truck.
when the first week those PC games come out, they always seem to knock them down by $10. I'll find a PC game that I'm looking for $39 versus $49 everywhere else. So
Really trying to
I
not
know they're
buy
taking a
PC games.
huge loss leader on those, but the few games I really want to buy first week, first day, whatever.
I'm contributing to the downfall of PC games because I'm really just trying to not buy them anymore.
Well, I still download my share of them to try them out because they don't put out enough fucking demos, but, shy of that.
I just never.
I
end
do
up
buy the
playing
ones I
them on
really
PC.
enjoy.
So
It's just one of those things.
I think
if you like
I
a
think
good
the fact,
FPS, you
I
gotta
think
go to
that
PC.
The lack of used games on the PC, however, killing the PC game industry.
But and that's another thing that pisses me off is because of the fact you go buy this PC game, you got to log online with it and put your serial number in. You just killed all the resale value because a lot of times you can't go buy a used one of those and still be able to use that number.
Use the multiplayer.
Yeah, it kills the whole point of buying it used. So
Yeah,
PC has definitely got that down.
EB was trying that for a while. Was trying to do used PC games, and they did it pretty well for a while. But that was before the predominance of internet-based multiplayer stuff. So
Yeah, and before the copy protection just kept getting worse and worse.
That's where
Well,
things like Valve come into
what
play.
I really want
Well,
is
that
to
was
pay more
actually one
money
of the things
for
that totally
start
fucked
off.
that system up. Because people would buy the retail copy of Half-Life 2, authenticate it with Steam, and they couldn't return it or
Yeah.
or resell it to them because codes used, box is worthless.
Yeah. That's so weird, but yeah.
Wow, that really sucks.
Well, and MMOs screw that up too. So
Yeah.
It's probably the only real drawback to the PC games.
which is why they're really like all the NC Soft stuff. You don't have to buy boxes anymore.
It's probably why
Just
the
download
PC
'em.
stuff is moving towards downloadable faster.
It's going to eventually be there, yeah.
think consoles are going to go the same way.
Well, it took
Well,
a
they're
long
gonna
time
follow
for even the
suit,
PC
yeah.
games to actually have smaller boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
No.
Xbox Live Arcade is an example of that. It's eventually going to move towards that totally.
Huh,
But we're
there's-
looking probably another 2 generations before that happens, I'm sure.
I don't know
know.
about that one because right now on the 360, the most you can fit is 8 gigs of data on there. It doesn't take a whole lot more bandwidth than what you got now. Before downloading that seems like a totally
Yeah, but how
reasonable
big of a hard
proposition.
drive are you going to need to be able to store
You seen
10
the cost
games?
per gigabyte?
Yeah, but they'd have to actually, give you that.
Yeah,
and not
they-
have a
yeah.
20 gigabyte hard drive in there. Things
that's what I'm saying, though. is
120 gig drive is what, $180 right now?
At this point right now, you can basically
$120,
download
I think it
all
is.
of the last generation stuff. So I'm willing to bet that the next generation is going to be download only.
Well, that may be the case, but they better freaking give you a bigger hard drive for that. And it
Yeah,
doesn't seem
yeah.
like they're really doing that.
They're not really going out of their way to give you more space.
I'm not saying that right now, this generation, they're doing
No,
that.
I
They
mean,
obviously aren't.
Well, I mean, this generation, they gave you a 20 gig base, on the 360. What the hell were they thinking? They probably had to pay extra to get those. Because where the hell do you get a 20 gig hard drive?
Granted,
They
we
had
do
some trouble
sit
finding
here
one.
and knock PS3, but at least they're putting bigger hard drives in their systems.
Well, it depends on which PS3 you buy.
Well, yeah, that too, but
Still,
still.
I get a hard drive, depending on which PS3 you buy.
But I mean, on both the 360 and the PS3 now, you can play PS2 games and or Xbox games. Totally download the whole thing and play it right there.
Man.
So it's so close to being there. Next generation, it's totally going to happen. We don't need discs anymore.
I don't know about that. I think people still going and buying it in the store.
Yeah, I want to go to a Best Buy where people don't know what the hell they're talking about, and I could just, go and.
We're not talking about you.
Yeah, as I've been told many times, I am different.
Yes, slightly.
Damn stranger.
Slightly different. Alright, so, yeah.
So used games are not killing the game industry, but
No.
They're full of shit.
really.
Period.
The lack of used games is killing the PC game industry. Okay, there you go. Stop
Except
watching TV.
for MMOs.
Except for MMOs, which you can download anyway. The vast majority of them anyway.
They're so full of shit.
Don't you have a 1 minute review?
Yes, I have a 1 minute review.
For 2 games.
Yes, for 2 games, I'm pulling double duty.
Well, you only get 1 minute for both of them.
Yeah.
Murdock has
You know
a
what your
problem.
review should be for No More Heroes? It should be the Japanese hate it, I don't. All right. Next.
All right, well let's
Point, counterpoint.
Okay, so I have
They
a.
bought their tickets. I say let them crash.
That's an awesome line, by the way. All right, so the first game I have is Knights: Journey into Dreams, the sequel to the Sega Saturn Knights, and the game is a huge disappointment.
Pile of turd.
Well, the problem is, okay, the frame rate is really odd. I don't know why there's dropping in frame rates. I would figure, they can kind of program this stuff where that doesn't happen anymore.
It's actually an arcade true
Apparently, the
rendition.
Wii's just not powerful enough.
I guess. I mean, the one big advantage of the game is that you can use any type of controller scheme. So you can use the GameCube controller, you can use the Wiimote, use it on its side. So you do have
this sounds
options.
brilliant for the game designed to introduce the analog stick.
Well, true, but I mean, between the graphics are kind of some of it's good, some of it's bad, and not only that, but it's just kind of inconsistent. But the game, if you've played the Saturn game, there's really not much difference from that and this version. I mean, it's nothing that hasn't been done before.
So this one's just a sucky version of the original.
Pretty much. The
Well,
original
when
was
they did
actually
that,
a better game.
when they did that vote
Wow.
of what the game we'd like to see a sequel of, they didn't really say, did you want us to change it and make it new? No, people just said we'd like to see Sega Knights into Dreams. Yeah, well,
Okay.
So
So
maybe just a port of the original version would have been good then.
that's on the PS2. That's actually what they're planning. Okay, so my next review. Oh, by the way, that game is $49.99. It's
caramba.
definitely not worth that. I would
worth
say
like
it's probably like
$9.99.
19. I think it's like worth $19.99.
I think you go into
actually
higher than
$14.99.
yeah, there you go.
Definitely a budget title. So next up we have my review of No More Heroes, and it is definitely a game that does not suck. Suda51, Grasshopper Studio, very, very cool game.
I understand
the control
this is actually his best-selling game in Japan.
Which
Which, it's not like he's got a huge bar to leap over, but still.
well, I mean, it sold that one copy to that one guy during the Famitsu promotion. I mean, it didn't help he was giving out free toilet paper with the game, but still. But the game is very enjoyable. The control is definitely well done. And the story is, well, It's Suda51, so it's going to be weird.
What's your take on the opinion that driving around the city is boring?
You know what? It's not really that boring because you don't have to spend a lot of time driving around in the city. I mean, it's not like Grand Theft Auto where you can wander around aimlessly and find all these
major plot point.
Yeah. But in No More Heroes, the driving isn't really boring because they've limited it. They've limited the amount of stuff that you can actually do in the city. So it's like, okay, well, here's point A and here's point B. You have stuff to do, and it's not really boring because, you know, you're not wandering around doing nothing.
Does it add anything over selecting locations from a menu?
The only thing it really adds is that there's hidden
This
things
is
in
the
the
Burnout
city.
Paradise question in disguise, by the way.
The thing is that it doesn't really add anything. It doesn't take away anything. The only point of the driving is that other than getting to locations where you can actually buy shit, there's hidden objects in the game that you can drive around and find. But the thing is that it's a Japanese-developed game. So if you buy a device for your sword, it actually makes these things show up on the map so you don't have to wander around aimlessly. It's like, the glowing pink dots must be, you know, where something's buried. Or the little orange dots are the little balls that I need to, you know, open up power-ups. So they don't make it that difficult, and it's completely optional. So if you want to be anal retentive, you can definitely go that route, but you don't have to.
And,
it's still an awesome game.
How did you feel when you were jacking off to recharge your lightsaber?
It's not jacking. It is funny, though. It is pretty funny.
That's definitely a moment. I need to do that and throw it on my live journal icon.
It is pretty funny. But you don't need to put the Wii remote by your wang and actually do it like that.
But it helps.
No, it doesn't.
That brings you more into the game.
It's more immersive.
Whack it with your
It's
Wii.
more interactive. Is that what you're going to
It
say?
definitely befits the Wii.
It's a more immersive experience.
You're off the podcast.
When you light that saber off, you come off.
Finally, Master, you release me from my burden!
So, the game is $49. It's definitely worth. It's the best third-party game for the Nintendo Wii, which is not saying much. I do realize that.
I'd probably drop $39 on it.
Yeah,
I won't buy it brand new.
It's definitely worth $39. So, next up, Brian, you have a review for us?
Oh, yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, CompUSA is apparently going out of business. So get there now.
A review of CompUSA?
Well, I know it's,
Crappy
my
job.
story starts there.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, I got this game there, this PSP game, never heard of, never even saw, never heard the light of day for that matter. It was apparently a shmup. It's like a Clay Fighter shmup. It's called Platypus.
Except it's better than Clay Fighter.
Oh, yeah, by far. But, yeah, just a basic, almost like Flash game shmup. And you blow up ships, and it's all in clay. The background's in clay, and they explode in clay, and you get a little power-up via...
So if Will
Parodius has, like, the
Vinton
power-up
made a
system.
shooter,
Yeah, give or take. Very silly, and you know I got it for $14.99 due to their going out of business sale, and I probably wouldn't have found it without that, honestly. But
Because who ever heard of this game?
yeah, it's the weirdest thing. It was so backdoor that I don't even know why we never saw it, and we see a good amount of these games
Do you know what the
generally.
name of it is?
Platypus.
Oh, Platypus.
Yeah, it was weird, but yeah, I picked it up. It's actually very simple fun, but it's still a decent shmup. And it's the only thing that really is the biggest drawback for the game, and it's the same thing for every shmup on the PSP, is it's just not easy to control.
Can't use the D-pad?
You can use either, but it still just is not as smooth on there. Granted, I haven't got a slim PSP, so I don't know if the control is better on that. I've been told yes and no on something.
I'd have to try it on mine and see if it makes a
Yeah,
difference.
we should try it on yours and see if it makes a difference. But you know, overall, it's still a fun game, and it doesn't take a huge amount away from the game. It's very silly, and apparently you can also do multiplayer on it via ad hoc.
The only thing I didn't like about the game when I played your copy is because everything is made of clay, the bullets are also made of clay. And there's no differentiation between the bullets and some of the
some of the
background
enemies
elements,
and some
it
of
does
the
make it hard to see.
Yeah, some of the enemies and some of the bullet colors are actually hard to see, and you do just mysteriously blow up sometimes. You'd swear. So you gotta.
We call that the Battle Grega effect.
Yeah. You start watching it long enough, and you'll start paying attention. You'll start noticing those things a little bit more. But yeah, for the most part, that's probably the second most irritating part of it, shy of the control. Otherwise, I totally swear it's worth $14.99. It's definitely a fun game.
Okay.
And just a cool concept. It's fun to see clay explode. I don't know. Silly but fun.
So, Steve, do you have a review for us? Or, well, Steve's not at the table.
Oh.
Steve does not have a review.
Seriously opening multiple cabinets across the room.
It's a ghost.
Patrick Swayze's in the house.
It's my way or the highway, bitch.
Steve right now is getting
Do you have a video game review, Ollie? No!
And now our video game review, Ollie video game review of Assassin's Creed. I killed people! Thanks, Ollie.
Yeah. It's what I do!
So, Ollie, your review of
all I
Tetris.
do.
Dropping blocks! Thank you.
Come on, drop from the sky! Thanks, Ollie.
Hey, that's really a review site I could get behind.
Yeah, Ollie's three sentence review, second
Three-word
review. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm more partial to zero punctuation myself.
Actually, zero punctuation is going to be on X Play, and I'm not making that up.
But it's
Wow.
not the whole
Well,
thing.
it's not the
which
whole
is
thing. They're just
retarded.
doing-
They're doing
yeah.
like a preview of it that's as long as the reviews are. What the fuck?
Which is actually kind of funny because it's not like X-Play is overflowing with content. It's not like they're trying to cram it into their show that's already full of good stuff.
Yeah, I think they just have to cut some of it out because they can't broadcast it.
I think so.
Trying to talk about that triple cunted hooker might, be a
Yeah,
little bit of
that
a
was the
stretch.
greatest one, man. I think the picture of it was funnier than even him saying it. That was great. The hooker with her pants open and he's looking down in there. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, you have a review for us, John?
Take it away, John. You proud and
this
cookie cat.
last week I beat GEIST, which GameCube title, got some press, but kind of disappeared because it was for the GameCube, and nobody gives a fuck about the GameCube, even when there were games coming out for it.
Or when its name was changed to the Wii.
Well, yeah. But it's a kind of an FPS, but it blends in some puzzle-solving aspects, too, because you play...
Boo!
So you have to go through these bits to scare other people and to possess animals and creatures and use them to navigate the environment, as well as interspersing it with standard shooting bits. Downside to those being you got to do them with a GameCube controller. But other than that, it was well done, had some creative ideas, and knew how not to overstay its welcome. It wasn't a long game, but that's because it was all new ideas throughout, and they didn't recycle anything, and they knew when to end.
So, verdict, it could have been worse. It could have been a platformer.
Could have been worse. They could have padded it out to 15 hours. But for the length it is, you find it for $20, it's a good purchase.
Now, who makes this game?
I don't remember the developer.
Huh.
I don't think I've heard of him before.
Okay. Because, I saw a little bit of it, but it just kind of showed up and disappeared really quickly. So I didn't really get a
It
chance
was
to
an
see.
FPS on the GameCube.
Well, so was Metroid Prime.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
Metroid
rare.
Prime was not an FPS. You could lock on to enemies.
It's a lock. It's a bot. I know it.
Zone G hacks.
Yeah.
Stop that. All right. So our next podcast will actually be our pretentious podcast. We will have brandy and cigars here. And
You bring in the brandy?
And the cigars.
no,
Smoke them if you got them.
no,
So, really, the next podcast won't be any of those things.
no. I just wanted.
Next episode on Diehard Gamer Radio.
We
John
get
arrives with a
blitzed
hooker.
on Schlitz malt liquor.
John arrives drunk and with a hooker. Well, my
pretentious.
hooker's got a review.
Well, she's got 3 cunts.
John has a can of Schlitz, and Bill Murray is right next to him.
Brian does his review from the emergency room where he's having a Wiimote extracted from a strange place.
Damnedest thing I sat on it. Can you believe it? I didn't know it was sticking out my couch.
the strange place, the back of a VW Bug.
And that's a very uncomfortable place.
What, you mean like a VW Bug?
Murdock sets a record by drinking 2 beers in one sitting.
Oh man, I'm an animal.
Yeah.
Slow down, man.
All right, so is that it for the podcast?
Sounds like it.
Okay.
Well, waiting for the chirp of the beetle, but I didn't hear it.
Chirp.
Cricket.
Oh, it's next time when you'll hear Murdock say...
I actually didn't have anything queued up in my brain as a witty retort.
Loading,
for that.
loading.
Let's see, loading.
How many SNESs is that?
I give it 3 praise.
three praise.
Thank you for listening to Diehard Gamer Radio. You can visit our website at diehardgamerradio.com and iTunes, or you can email us at diehardgamerradio@gmail.com.